like there are many barriers, right? But three of the barriers that I realize, right? Income, especially now with inflation and the fact that prices of everything, like just everything is going up and going up in some situations exponentially, right? Food and so on and so forth. We go to the supermarket every week, it seems like something else has increased in price, right? So income is definitely a barrier, like a fixed income. And after I list the barriers, I'm going to kind of mention a couple of things that even with the lowest income you can actually do to improve, make like it's small improvements, right? Like a little bit here and there, and eventually you realize, oh, actually I'm not as badly off in terms of my health as I could have been or as I was before, right? So income is definitely a barrier, and I understand that, and my hand goes out to people who are struggling because of income deficiencies. Okay, another one would be just kind of awareness or education, just simply not knowing. Like if you don't know, you just don't know, right? And if you have not, if you were never exposed to certain things, or you're not surrounded by people who know certain things, and we're talking specifically health and food decisions and so on. Like if you don't know, you just don't know. And so the purpose of platforms like YouTube and just social media in general is just to help sensitize people about what is there. Like there's still things I'm clueless about. There's still things I don't know, right? But there's certain things I know now that I didn't know 5 years ago, but I kept seeking knowledge. Like in life, we are constantly learning and constantly trying to get better, right? So just not knowing is a barrier as well, because if you were brought up in a certain way, surrounded by just like a fixed set of people, and you never got to see anything else, then you're just not going to know that, hey, there's a better way, right? There's maybe I should make this kind of decision when it comes to my food instead of that kind of decision, right? And I'm not judging at all, because I know that I have deficiencies, and there's still things I can improve in, right? And then another barrier, and this is what the person mentioned, but I know about this though, is food deserts, and the fact that in some areas there's just no options, right? And I'm here in a small city in East Mississippi, and I have to say 9 years ago when we moved here, the food options were not as good as they are now, right? We only have Walmart and a store called Winn-Dixie, right? Before we had a couple other supermarkets, but now those are what we have. And 9 years ago, Walmart really did not have a lot of good options. I don't even think they sold organic produce at the time, right? So if we wanted organic stuff, we had to go elsewhere and to get it. Or in most cases, actually, we actually just ate the regular whatever the food was. We didn't get organic food. And that goes to my point about even me and my family learning, because 9 years ago we didn't eat organic, we just ate whatever was there, right? And then over time, and increasing your knowledge and so on and so forth, and then we were like, you know what, maybe we should choose organic as much as we can whenever we can. And so now we eat organic and non-genetically modified food and so on and so forth, right? So it's like a learning process, and there are probably things that we're going to improve in the future, right, in this whole process of evolving and learning and just kind of striving to do better, right? So food deserts definitely exist now. Walmart has really stepped up their game since 9 years ago. So there's a big organic section, and even for the dry goods, you can get non-genetically modified. You can get a lot of healthy nuts and wholesome grains, ancient grains, and things like that, right? So we have options here. I know a lot of people would never be caught dead setting foot in Walmart, but hey, sometimes I don't consider myself to be in a food desert, but sometimes that's just all you have. And thankfully they have better options now. And so we have that. Now I know that there are even worse food deserts, places in the country, like real country areas, where they probably have to travel really far to get to to get to a supermarket. And then if there are transport problems or deficient, like if you don't have a car, then you just can't go to the supermarket to stock up and stuff. So what you're left with is like a little simple food mart or mini mart, or even just a couple of fast food chains. And so that is what some people have access to, and I understand that. But saying that, no, let me just read some of the things that the person wrote, right? It was a post that I put about, the fact that eating processed food it might give you immediate gratification, yes, and it's easier and cheaper, but then in the long term, you're often going to pay for that, right? And so they were saying that, they said a bunch of things, and they said, stop making it so complex and saying all this elitist stuff and like eat better and eat healthier. And how about if I speak about food deserts, income inequality, unequal access to healthcare, social stigmas surrounding canned and frozen produce? And that was interesting to me, because I never in my life heard that there was a stigma surrounding canned and frozen produce. Now, if any of you have heard or are aware that there's a stigma to canned food and frozen food, let me know, because maybe I've been in the dark and I'm clueless and I just didn't know. I buy frozen stuff. We have to buy frozen berries sometimes to make our smoothies, frozen fruit in general, just to, if we're making like blending kefir or whatever, if we happen to be making a smoothie, we buy frozen stuff. And I've never felt ashamed, embarrassed, stigmatized by taking frozen stuff out of the freezer, right? We also buy some things canned. We buy canned salmon, but we go out of our way to choose wild caught salmon. We buy it it comes in water, so we don't buy it with all sorts of things added. We add our own seasoning when we get it at home. We buy canned sardines. They come in either water or in olive oil, and sometimes they add some, bits of olive pieces and some other enhancements, flavorings like seasonings or whatever. But we try to make sure that whatever the ingredients are, we can tell what they are, we can read it, interpret it, we know what it is, and it's just like a limited amount of ingredients, right? And they're probably canned coconut milk, right? So they're things that we purchase in the can, but we try to make sure it's limited ingredients and the ingredients are recognizable rather than these chemical names that we don't know what they are, right? So again, I've never felt stigmatized or embarrassed or ashamed to buy things in a can. If you all know of stigma related to canned and frozen foods, enlighten me, post in the comments and let me know, because I actually like when people, tell me about these things. Like when I'm clueless, I like to be informed, right? So, I appreciate any enlightenment y'all can give me on these things, right? Now, in terms of like what you can do. So say you have, money is a problem, I know, for a lot of people, especially now more than ever, right? And say any of these barriers pertain to you. Now, one thing, right, if you're going to just do one thing I would say is to replace sodas and sweetened drinks with water. Mostly everybody has running water, and even if, they purify the water as best as possible coming through the pipes. And so I don't think the water is coming through the pipes is toxic. I think tap water would be better than drinking sodas all the time, right? I think tap water would be better than drinking sweetened coffee beverages all the time. I think tap water would be better than drinking juices all the time, right? So I would say that one thing you can do, and tap water is also cheaper than drinking all these drinks. As much as sodas may cost a few cents now, but ultimately it adds up, right? Both the price of the soda and then the price of unwellness or disease caused by just continuing to drink all those sodas month after month, year after year, etc., right? So that's one thing you can do, right? Replace the sweetened drinks, as many of them as possible, by water, even if it's just tap water. The second thing I would say is to eat more. You might not be able to get frozen vegetables if you're in one of those food deserts, but in your mini mart or wherever, you should be able to get frozen vegetables, right? You should be able to get frozen vegetables, and it's not like frozen vegetables are probably even sometimes better than fresh vegetables because they flash freeze them at the source, right? So they maintain more of their nutritional value compared to other vegetables that are transported over a period of maybe days or whatever, and so they might actually lose some of that nutritional value, right? So frozen vegetables, flash frozen at the source, you are going to get your nutritional benefit from those. And so if you can buy, and frozen vegetables are actually cheaper than fresh vegetables, so incorporate more frozen vegetables as best as you can into your meals, right? If you have canned vegetables actually tend to be, from my experience and from what I've seen, they tend to be overcooked and also loaded with salt, and sometimes they have other additives. So I'd be wary of canned vegetables, not because it's like I think it's not embarrassing, right? But like when you buy canned stuff, just be careful of what it is and additives in it. And like I said, if you could do frozen. Now I know if there's a problem with electricity, refrigeration and so on, then you might just have to settle for canned vegetables, and you just do the best that you can, okay? And then the other thing is basically the third thing, because I have 4 points. Third is for people who might be in food deserts and things like that. A lot of times the children are fed in school. And if you can increasing your knowledge and you're kind of knowing what's better and expecting better and asking for more, like parents can come together and make certain requests from the school system, right? You don't necessarily have to take it, right? If you come together and by yourself, it might seem like, oh my, like me, oh little me, like I can't get them to do anything. But if you can sort of get a group of parents together and ask for better food, like there's absolutely no reason why they should be giving children sweets in school, all right? So they give them candy at school. They should not be giving children candy at school, okay? So you can ask, demand something. They shouldn't be giving children juice at school. They should not be giving children popsicle. Children should not be given sweetened things at school, right? They should be given more vegetables, right? So if the government is going to use our tax money to buy food for children, it should be good food. It should be a good bit of vegetables, right? If children are hungry, they're going to eat what they're given, right? It shouldn't be any processed chicken nuggets or anything like that, right? So we can get together and ask for better, right? And then the fourth thing is basically just to seek knowledge, right? So you just keep learning. Like I think I alluded to earlier, like in life, it's a continuous learning process. We're always trying to get better, right? There are things I probably still need to learn, still need to find out, still need to be enlightened about, right? There are things I did, like I said, 10 years ago, I wasn't choosing, the organic produce. I was just eating whatever. And then I thought to myself, okay, maybe I should try to minimize pesticides and other toxins, right? We were, using regular eggs. And then I learned that, the pasture raised, the free range eggs are better than those that are caged, okay? So it's just like a lifelong process, and I'm excited about what else I might learn in the future. It's actually exciting to learn. And then you might learn something and you might not be able to afford to get the type that you have learned is better, right? But at least you know that that's what it is. And then when you know something, you can actually aim to be able to do it in the future, right? You can be motivated to get from where you are to where you want to be, right? But if you didn't even know that existed or that's possible, then there's nothing for you to aim towards, right? So ultimately, I know that there are lots of barriers to health for a lot of people, right? But I still think it's good to sort of aim for better. And you might not be able to achieve better now, but at least you have it in your mind as a goal, right? And you expect that you're going to get it in the future. And like they say too, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So once you decide that, I'm going to do better, I want to do better, right? And then you can, you expect it and you will eventually get it, right? Especially if you set specific goals, okay? So aim for better.